throughout the 20th century, the landlord was this figure of scorn, this really hated, reviled character. And there was a massive and deliberate social change under Thatcher and under Blair to reinvent the landlord, instead of being this kind of often violent, always unpalatable character. I think if we want to be serious about reversing the housing crisis, we've got to make it embarrassing to be a landlord again. We've got to rediscover a sense of shame and a sense of direct participation in the harm that we see around us today. I do think they ought to be embarrassed. I do think they ought to be ridiculed. It really fascinates me that whenever there is sort of a protest or a direct action about a landlord, they seem to think that they're entitled to respect. And I just feel that, like, the law is on their side, economics is on their side, the politicians are on their side, the courts are on their side. The idea that we shouldn't mock them and humiliate them and make them feel ashamed is laughable.
Wow. Nick Bano on PoliticsJOE thinks that landlords should be ashamed, landlords should be embarrassed, and landlords should be put into extinction like the dinosaurs. Get rid of them all. He says that landlords, right, the system is in their favour. The government are in their favour. Politics are in their favour. He says that the courts are in their favour. Where are you living? You are crazy. Okay? Here's the simple facts of the matter. As a landlord, I just purchased a building from the local council. We're converting it into 21 apartments. The council owned it for over 10 plus years, did nothing with it. Those 21 apartments are going to bring new homes to the area. If we rent them, it is going to provide 21 rental properties where it will reduce rents in the local area. Why did the government who owned the building not bring them back into use? Nick, why don't you go and buy some of these buildings, convert them back into residential for people, make use of them, bring old rundown stock into use and rent them out and solve the housing crisis yourself. See, as a landlord, we're bringing homes into use. The reality is, though, there's bad tenants as well as good tenants. And when a tenant doesn't pay the rent, the system, the courts, the politics, the laws are in the tenant's favour. If a tenant doesn't pay the rent, they speak to the council. The council says, don't pay, sit tight, stay there, wait for the courts to evict you. Then the courts delay and delay and delay, and a landlord, they have to pay thousands and thousands of pounds in court fees, bailiff fees, and refurbishment costs to bring their property back into use because some tenant didn't respect it. Quite often, by the way, Nick, it is their only property. 2.2 million landlords in the United Kingdom, over 2 million of them own less than 2 houses, 1 or 2 houses. These people have it instead of a pension. You know that pension thing, Nick, that the government let you down on? You know that pension thing that most people are paying into that will not protect them in retirement? Well, a lot of average normal people are landlords, Nick, and what they're doing is they're renting out a house to hopefully have some income for retirement. And then they rent it to some tenant who doesn't respect their home, who trashes their home, who doesn't pay the rent, who leaves it in a mess, who causes antisocial behaviour, because the courts are in favour of the tenant. The councils are in favour of the tenant because they say to them, if you leave by yourself, you won't get a council home. But if you're evicted, you'll qualify for one. So don't pay the rent, don't look after the house, and everything will be fine. Nick, you need to wake up to the reality of politics, wake up to the reality of the system. I mean, the irony is you're on PoliticsJOE and you are talking absolute nonsense. I challenge you to a debate. Come and meet me. Let's sit down. Let's see who is right and who is wrong. If landlords leave the market, Nick, here's what's going to happen. And it's already happening. Government policy is pushing landlords out of the market. And you know what's happening? It's increasing prices and increasing rents because of supply and demand. The country does not need less landlords, Nick. It needs more landlords. More landlords, more properties, more supply, lower rents, more affordability. But that doesn't suit the politics, the government agenda of higher prices, higher capital gains tax, higher inheritance tax, higher stamp duty. Nick, let's have a debate. You're talking nonsense. What an absolute knob. What's that all about?